What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we're going to be closing out the Bronze Age, the Dark Ages of the Walt Disney Animation Studios with a movie that I personally feel is the real kickoff of the Renaissance period for the Disney Animation Studios. Personal opinion, I'll explain more at the end, but today I'll be discussing 1988's Oliver and Company, featuring the voice talents of Joey Lawrence, Billy Joel, Cheech Marin, Richard Mulligan, Dom DeLuise, Robert Loggia, Bette Midler, Cheryl Lee Ralph, and Roscoe Lee Brown. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during that very long introduction, today's film is the final film of the Bronze Age, the Dark Ages of the Walt Disney Animation Studio. And in my personal opinion, which I'll get into at the end of the episode, I feel this film should be considered the first film of the Renaissance period for the Disney Animation Studios, but officially it is not. Officially, the Renaissance period kicks off with tomorrow's film, The Little Mermaid, but I have solid arguments for why this film should be lumped in there with the Renaissance period. Like I said, we'll get into that afterwards. Let's get into our film here, shall we? Our movie opens up in New York City, on Fifth Avenue to be more specific, and several kittens have been left in a box outside of a shop where all but one are adopted. The kitten begins to wander the streets by himself in search of someone to adopt him, and he meets a cool, laid-back mongrel named Dodger, who agrees to help him steal food from a hot dog vendor so that he can eat something. Dodger then reneges on the deal and flees the scene with the hot dogs. The kitten pursues Dodger all over New York City until eventually he arrives at a barge where he witnesses Dodger share the hot dogs with a gang of poverty-stricken dogs. Tito, the Chihuahua, Einstein, a Great Dane, Rita, a Saluki, and Francis, the Bulldog. The kitten accidentally falls into the barge and startles the gang of dogs. While the dogs are annoyed, none of them harm him. Fagin, who owns the dogs, is a bit of a petty thief who is indebted to Sykes, who is a nefarious loan shark and criminal. Sykes arrives to the barge and gives Fagin an ultimatum: repay the money he owes in 3 days, or suffer violence and possibly even death. Sykes's two Dobermans, Roscoe and DeSoto, harass Fagin's dogs and threaten to eat the kitten until he scratches DeSoto's nose, which earns the respect of Fagin and the rest of the gang. The next morning, Fagin goes to pawn off some of his stolen goods, while the dogs and the kitten try to steal some more money for him. Through a theatrical ruse, the animals stop a limousine belonging to the wealthy Foxworth family, but the attempt to rob the limo fails, and the kitten is taken by the child, Jenny Foxworth, who is missing her parents who are on a trip, and she desires some companion. Jenny decides to name the kitten Oliver and becomes very attached to him. Oliver makes himself at home in Jenny's house, much to the chagrin of Georgette, the Foxworth family's spoiled, prize-winning poodle. With Georgette's assistance, Dodger and the rest of the dogs manage to steal Oliver back from the Foxworth household and bring him back home to the barge. Fagin sees Oliver's new gold name tag and collar and realizes that Oliver has been adopted by a wealthy family. So Fagin decides to hold Oliver for ransom as he is desperate to come up with the money to pay off Sykes. Fagin decides to write an anonymous ransom note, which eventually reaches Jenny, who sets out to attempt to get Oliver back at the pier, which is the designated meetup spot. Jenny and Georgette meet up with Fagin, who is shocked that he is dealing with a little girl who's trying to pay the ransom with her piggy bank. Fagin becomes bothered by his conscience and Jenny's tears, so he gives Oliver back to her freely. Sykes, who has been watching in the shadows after being informed of the deal by Fagin, kidnaps Jenny with intent to ransom her off and declares Fagin's debt paid. Dodger rallies Oliver and the other dogs to work together in order to rescue Jenny from Sykes, but Sykes and his Dobermans confront them as they attempt to leave. Fagin saves the group with his scooter, and a chase ensues throughout the streets and into the subway system. Jenny falls from the scooter onto Sykes' car, so Oliver and Dodger go after her and battle Roscoe and DeSoto, who fall off the car and are electrocuted on the third rail of the subway. Fagin leaves Tito to drive and saves Jenny, while Dodger and Oliver are thrown from Sykes' car onto the pavement just before an oncoming train strikes and kills Sykes. Tito is able to drive the scooter to safety, and Jenny and Oliver are reunited. As our film draws to its conclusion, Jenny celebrates her birthday with the animals, Fagin, and the family butler, Winston, who receives a phone call from Jenny's parents saying that they will be returning from Rome the next day. Oliver opts to stay with Jenny and promises to remain in contact with Dodger and the rest of the gang. Now, like I said in the beginning, I feel that this should be the first film of the Renaissance era. And I'm going to give you some reasoning here. The film is 2 years removed from The Great Mouse Detective, and it started a 5-year run where Disney Animated Studios released a movie every single year. All those other movies are part of the Renaissance era. The Little Mermaid, Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin. Since this film started that 5-year run, it should be included in it too. You think about the Renaissance, and you think of great tales that were turned into Disney classics. The story of Aladdin, the story of The Little Mermaid, the story of Pocahontas and Hercules and Tarzan and Mulan. Oliver Twist, the works of Charles Dickens, telling me that doesn't deserve to be thrown in there with the rest of the Renaissance? You think of a movie like The Lion King and the all-star voice cast within that film. That film's got Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Matthew Broderick, James Earl Jones, Jeremy Irons. The list goes on and on. This has got Joey Lawrence, Billy Joel, Cheech Marin, who's also in Lion King, by the way, Bette Midler, who would go on and do Hocus Pocus for Disney, Robert Loggia, who the same year that he was doing this, he was dancing with Tom Hanks in Big, Dom DeLuise. All-star cast right there. You think of the Renaissance period, you think of amazing songs. Songs like Part of Your World, Under the Sea, Beauty and the Beast, A Whole New World, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? You've got songs in this by Billy Joel, Why Should I Worry? Bette Midler, Perfect Isn't Easy. Ruth Pointer of the Pointer Sisters, Streets of Gold. And Huey Lewis, Once Upon a Time in New York City. Huey Lewis, just 3 years prior, had told us all about the power of love in Back to the Future. And he was the first voice you heard in this film, as his song Once Upon a Time in New York City set up the entire film and what Oliver wanted all along, to be loved and adopted. And you're watching Oliver in his little cardboard box with all the other kittens being taken and adopted, and Oliver left behind. It was also the first animated film to gross $100 million worldwide in its initial release. We're not talking multiple re-releases afterwards, like Disney was known for doing at the time. No, $100 million in its original release. First animated film. I'm sorry. This film is completely underrated by the animation studios. And with the arguments I laid out right there, I'm open. Tell me why this film deserves to be lumped into the Bronze Age, the Dark Ages, instead of being the first film of the Renaissance. With all that evidence I just gave you, please, I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong if you guys can make a compelling argument. If you're watching the premiere, leave your comments here. If you're watching on demand, leave your comments here. But I defy somebody to leave me a compelling argument as to why Oliver and Company should not be the first film into the Renaissance era, as opposed to the last film of the Bronze Age, the Dark Ages. Talk to me, people. When it comes to my rating for Oliver and Company, with as much reverence as I've just talked about this film, no surprise to anybody, 5 out of 5 stars. I adore this film. This film is the first Walt Disney Animated Studios film that I remember going to the movie theaters and seeing. It's possible that I had gone earlier and seen a re-release of something else. But you've got to think about the movies we've talked about here in the Dark Ages, the Bronze Age, okay? I was born in 1976, August of 76 to be exact, okay? There was no film in 76. 77 brought us The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and The Rescuers. Depending on months, I would have been maybe a year old. Too young to go to the theaters at that point. 1981 was The Fox and the Hound. Depending on the month release, I would have been 4. Then there wasn't one until the Black Cauldron, which we've already established I had never seen until this. So 1985 was the Black Cauldron. I would have been 9. Never saw it. Great Mouse Detective was the next year. I would have been 10, depending on month release. Never seen it before until I watched it for this. Oliver and Company, I recall vividly going to the theaters and seeing, and I adored it so much that I had cardboard cutouts of the title logo and of what used to be the VHS cover of Dodger and Oliver on a piano being lifted by a crane. Cardboard cutout of this that was huge, massive, on my bedroom wall. I adore this film. Once Upon a Time in New York City reduces me to tears every time watching Oliver struggle, especially when Huey gets to the part where he says, "So Oliver, don't be scared. Though yesterday no one cared. They're getting your place prepared where you want to be." It's like he's telling the little guy, keep your hope because somebody is coming in the form of Jenny, and they're getting your place ready where you want to be. So great. And then within minutes of that, you flip over to Billy Joel's Why Should I Worry? Iconic. Top 3 Disney songs of all time, in my opinion. Without Billy Joel doing this, I dare say we don't get Elton John doing The Lion King. Bold statement, I know, but Billy Joel is very much America's version of Elton John. That's why for so many years they toured together, them and their pianos, face to face, trading hits back to back. And I wish I could have seen that concert. I never got to go to that one. I have seen Elton, never seen Billy, never saw that tour. But Billy Joel is America's version of Elton John. And without Billy Joel doing this, I dare say you don't get Elton John doing Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Circle of Life, and all the other songs for The Lion King. What do you guys think? Am I blowing smoke out of my ass? Let me know. You're watching the premiere? Leave your comments over here. Watching on demand? Leave your thoughts down here. But whatever you do, make sure you guys get out there, go to social media, get those hashtags trending for me. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, and of course, the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag Statboy Approved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you guys get out there. Do what that commercial just told you. Go to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network. All the official merchandise of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood. Get you your Renegade J.J. Williams shirt. Dad's Not Always on Wrestling. Statboy Sports Bar. Hashtag Statboy Approved. Hashtag Shenanigans. Get you your official merchandise for the Jeff Meacham Network. 3 different designs of the Jeff Meacham Network logo for you to choose from, along with Talk Wrestling, Meachamania, and so much more. Hey, it's summertime. It's triple digits out here where I am. Get yourself a tank top. Perfect for those hot summer days and those hotter summer nights. Just get out there, whatever you do, and support. While you're supporting, why don't you do what that ticker tells you to do? Do you enjoy my content? Do you appreciate the fact that I'm out here in my garage studio recording content for you guys on a daily basis? If you do, go to the PayPal link. Send me a couple bucks as a donation. Little thank you. Show me that you appreciate my hard work. Keep in mind, everybody, I'm not monetized right now. So the only way I can make any money on these videos, on my hard work, is if you go to that PayPal link and send me a buck or two. You don't want to make a cash donation? That's cool. Go to that Linktree link, click on my Amazon movie wish list. Select a movie from my wish list. When it comes to me and I open it live on Renegade Recap, I'll give you a shout out like I always do. And then when I work it into my film reviews and I find a theme to throw it into, I'll give you guys another shout out and give you guys the credit that you deserve for coming out there and supporting me, because I greatly appreciate it and I enjoy doing this stuff for you guys. Tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, when I will bring you yet another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, we will officially enter the Renaissance period with 1989's The Little Mermaid. Make sure you're here for that. I know you're not going to want to miss out tomorrow as we enter the Renaissance. Unfortunately, we're not going to get too deep in the Renaissance period before the month ends, but have no fear. When we pick the Disney films up next year, we'll be right in the midst of the Walt Disney Animation Studios Renaissance period. As a matter of fact, if my timeline is correct, when we come back into this next year, the very first film we're going to do is Beauty and the Beast. Can't ask for a better kickoff than that. So it's kind of a good thing that the Renaissance period is going to kind of end where it ends here. But make sure you're here tomorrow for The Little Mermaid. All my loyal fans out there tuning in, watching the premiere, leaving your comments over here, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you guys. All my loyal fans tuning in later on in the day, watching on demand, leaving your comments down here. Thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I thank all of my loyal viewers tuning in every single day to check out my content. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time.